Hello, good evening. I am Laura Rocio Bello, and this is the English 6 course. Okay, and this is my fairytale. Okay, and this title is Laura and the Three Colorful Helmets. Once upon a time, there was a child girl called Laura. She was on the way to see her teddy fresh when she decided to take a shortcut through wild forest. It wasn't long before Go Laura got lost. She looked around, but all she could see were trees. Nervously, she fell into her bag to her favorite toy, Henry the Hippo. But Henry the Hippo was nowhere to be found. Laura began to panic. She felt sure she had packed Henry the Hippo. To make matters worse, she was starting to feel hungry. Unexpectedly, she saw a colorful hen dressed in a yellow hat disappearing into the trees. How odd, to Laura. For the want of anything better to do, she decided to follow the peculiarly dressed hen. Perhaps it could tell him the way out of the forest. Eventually, Laura reached a clearing. She found herself surrounded by houses made from different sorts of food. There was a house made from tomatoes, a house made from macarons, a house made from legumes, and a house made from chips. Laura could feel her tummy rumbling. Looking out the house did nothing to ease her hunger. "Hello!" she called. "Is anybody there?" Nobody replied. Laura looked at the roof on the closest house and wondered if it would be rude to eat somebody else's chimney. Obviously, it would be impolite to eat a wood house, but perhaps it would be considered acceptable to nibble to odd fixture or lick to odd feeling in a time of need. A gale broke through the air, giving Laura a fright. A witch jumped into the space in front of the house. She was carrying a cage. In that cage was Henry the Hippo. Henry the Hippo shouted Laura. She turned to the witch. "That's my toy." The witch just shut. "Give Henry the Hippo back," cried Laura. "Not on your knees," said the witch. "At least let Henry the Hippo out of my cage." Before she could reply, three colorful hands reached in from footpath on other side of the clearing. Laura recognized the one of the yellow hat that she would see earlier. The witch seemed to recognize him too. "Hello, big hen," said the witch. "Good morning." The hen noticed Henry the Hippo. "Who is this?" "That's Henry the Hippo," explained the witch. "Oh, Henry the Hippo would look lovely in my house." "Give it to me," reminded the hen. The witch shook her head. "Henry the Hippo is staying with me." Excuse me, Laura interrupted. "Henry the Hippo lives with me, and not in a cage." Big Hen ignored her. "Is there nothing you'll trade?" he asked the witch. The witch took for a moment. Then she said, I do like to be entertained. I will release him to anybody who can eat wool fondue. Big Hen looked at the house made from chips and said, no problem, I could eat an entire house made from chips if I wanted to. That's nothing, said the next hen. I could eat 2 houses. There is no need to show off, said the witch. Just eat from one from door, and I will let you have Henry the Hypo. Laura watched, feeling very worried. She didn't want the witch to give Henry the Hypo to big hen. She didn't think Henry the Hypo would like living with a colorful head away from her house and all her other toys. The other two hens watched while Hen put on his bib and withdrew a knife and fork from his pocket. I will eat this whole house, said the hen. Just watch. The big hen pulled off a corner of the front door of the house made from macarons. He gulped it down smiling and went back for more and more and more. Eventually, Big Hen started to get bigger, just a little bit bigger at first. But after a few more forkfuls macaron, he grew to the size of a large snowball, and he was very big as round. "Er, I don't feel too good," said Big Hen. Suddenly he started to roll. He had the ground so round that he could no longer balance. "Help!" he cried, as he rolled off down a slope into the forest. Big Hen never finished eating two from macaroons, and Henry the Hypo remained trapped in the witch cage. Average Hen stepped up and approached the house made from little poles. I will eat this whole house, said Average Hen. Just watch. Average Hen pulled off a corner of the front door of the house made from little poles. She gulped it down, smiling, and went back for more, and more, and more. After a while, Average Hen started to look a little crazy. She grew greener and greener. A woodcutter walked into the clearing. "What's this bird doing here?" he asked. "I'm not a bush. I'm a hen. I am hen," said Average Hen. "It talks," exclaimed the woodcutter. "Those talking bushes are the worst kind. I had better take it away before somebody gets hurt." "No, wait!" cried Average Hen as the woodcutter picked her up, but the woodcutter ignored her cries and carried the hen away under his arm. Average Hen never finished eating the front door made from little poles, and Henry the Hyper remained trapped in the witch cage. Little Hen stepped up and approached the house made from chips. "I will eat this whole house," said Little Hen. "Just watch." Little Hen pulled off a corner in front door of the house made from chips. She gulped it down smiling and went back for more and more and more. As after 5 or 6 platefuls, little Hen started to fidget uncomfortably on the spot. He stopped eating chips for a moment, then grabbed another forkful. But before he could eat it, there came an almighty roar. A bottom burned louder than a rocket taking off, propelled little Hen into the sky. "Ah!" cried the little hen. "I'm scared of heat." Little Hen was never seen again. Little Hen never finished eating the front door more made from chips, and Henry the Hyper remained trapped in the witch cage. "That's it," said the witch. "I win. I get to keep Henry the Hyper." "Not so fast," said Laura. "There is still one front door to go." "The front door of the house made from tomatoes, and I haven't had a turn yet." "I don't have to give you a turn," laughed the witch. "My game, my rules." The woodcutter voice carried through the forest. "I think you should give her a chance. It's only fair." "Fine," said the witch. "But you saw what happened to the hens. She won't last long." "I will be right back," said Laura. "What?" said the witch. "What is your sense of impatience?" "I thought you wanted Henry the Hype back." Laura ignored the witch and gathered a healthy pile of sticks. She came back to the clearing and started a small campfire. Carefully, she broke off a piece of the door of the house made from tomatoes and tossed it over the fire. Once it had cooked and cooled just a little, she took a bite. She quickly devoured the whole piece. Laura sat down on a nearby log. "You fell," cackled the witch. "You were supposed to eat the whole door." "I haven't finished," explained Laura. "I'm just waiting for my food to go down." When Laura's food had digested, she broke off another piece of the door made from tomatoes. Once more, she tossed her food over the fire and waited for it to cool just a little. She ate it at a leisurely pace, then waited for it to digest. Eventually, after several sittings, Laura was down to the final piece of the dough made from tomatoes. Carefully, she tossed it and allowed it to cool just a little. She finished her final course. Laura had eaten the entire front door of the house made from tomatoes. The witch stamped her foot angrily. "You must have tricked me," she said. "I don't reward cheating." "I don't think so," said a voice. It was the woodcutter. He walked back into the clearing, carrying his axe. "This little girl won fair and square. Now hand every Henry the Hypo